Good morning, you one or two. Good to see everybody. Welcome to the January 17th BOCC meeting. Would you all please rise for the pledge? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing we have on our agenda are our minutes. Gentlemen, do we have any additions or corrections?
No, I would so move we accept the minutes of the special meeting January 9th, 2023, and the minutes of the regular meeting of January 10th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners for January 9th, 2023 and January 10th, 2023. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. 9 o'clock, we have planning, and the first thing we have is we have a public hearing. So would you call the roll, please? Kim?
Commissioner Candelaria.
Here.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver.
Here.
Administrator Anderson. Sorry, I can't talk. Attorney McLaren.
Here.
And Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of a proposed subdivision amendment application by the Herrington Minor Subdivision, Second Amendment, a moderate subdivision submitted by Edward Tevault on property located at 21555 Road F, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 4.50 acres more or less, and Robert Field on property located at 21424 Road F, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 14.74 acres more or less, both located south of Road F and east of Road 21, situated in Section 18, Township 35 North, Range 16 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, January 17th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 20th day of December 2022. Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Cortez Journal on Wednesday, January 4th, 2023.
All right, thank you, Kim. Okay, Don, would you give us an overview?
Yes, good morning. Mr. Tevault is looking, if you can scroll up one map, Travis, is looking to amend the subdivision by adding an additional 3 acres to his lot from his neighbor. So it's a boundary line adjustment, but it's in a subdivision, so it's amending the subdivision. So he goes through the 2 public hearing process.
Okay.
It's the second amendment, because 2 years ago, he did the same thing on the east because there was some conflict with his deeds, but he's just adding more property to his lot from his neighbor. P&Z was unanimous to recommend it for approval.
So what's the utility easement goes all the way along that boundary? But
There's an easement there, but his house is clear up to the north of his lot.
So it doesn't affect anything at all? It's just adding the 3
Yeah,
acres,
nothing's
basically.
changing. It's
Okay.
just he's getting more property on his lot than what he had prior.
Gosh, okay. Would you like to add anything?
No.
Mr.
No,
Tevault?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Any questions or
No,
comments
this is-
before I open it up?
This is really easy.
All right. Well, I do have to open this up for public comment. So Anybody wishing to speak for or against this application, please come forward
Gary?
to the podium. State your name and address for the record, and you may address the board. Seeing no public comment, I will close the public comment session of this meeting, and I'll bring it back to the commissioners. Gentlemen?
I don't have any problem with it.
I don't either.
All he's doing is adding acres, it's no big deal.
I move we accept the proposed subdivision amendment application to the Herrington Minor Subdivision, second amended, a moderate subdivision submitted by Edward Tevault on property located 21555 Road F, Cortez.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the proposed subdivision amendment application to the Herrington Minor Subdivision, second amendment, a moderate subdivision submitted by Edward Tevault on property located at 21555 Road F, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 4.5 acres more or less. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. And I will close this public hearing. Okay,
Then item number 1, if we can move that to the bottom. Ernie called, he's in traffic,
okay.
on his way. The other items 2, 3, and 4.
2, 3, and 4 are just
are
Mylar
signing
signing?
Mylars.
Okay, well, we can do that, and we'll move it to the bottom.
Left-handed though, it's tricky skill test now. I did that for a while with that lesson. It's a skill.
He looks like he's in pain.
I bet we could find a few. Work release. Should take a picture on that this weekend. I actually went down to Good job. It was nice down there.
It's gotta be witnessed. She's gotta have that picture so she can confirm.
How about you?
It's just all plowed.
That is nice.
With my little tractor.
I think we need that for evidence, Kim. Marty?
I'll say I was about to lot.
Which is good.
Yeah.
It's gonna help us out in the long run.
It'll be great. I mean, I always hope that it fills the lake. Can we put a salt in the course back on the backside down by Sagen? There's no water down there for a long time.
Huh.
But maybe this year there will be. So we can hope.
Well, I'm stuck in 22 months.
Make sure we're here.
Yeah, yeah.
Official.
There you go.
I don't know, I was thinking last night, that for some stupid reason, I thought, what the hell do we do if we lose the remote?
Did you watch the game last night?
Yeah, it was a good game. Minus the score. They couldn't believe we missed 4 extra points. I never saw that.
Well, it's gotta be a longer feeling.
Can you imagine the razzing he got in the locker?
And it's just, I mean, it's just gotta be such a tough thing in your head, you know, cause you push the first 2 left and you push the third one right, you know, you just.
Overcompensation.
Yep, yep. So, yeah, I don't know.
You think Brady will come back?
Cause McDaniels, has a long coordinator for all those years, he's the head coach, and they've got Devontae Adams, the good receiver, and Josh Jacobs at Dome Stadium. I mean, they couldn't protect it, or anything, so they just snapped the ball, and 3 or 4 guys.
This month's already going by so fast.
The guys would come out, they don't like it.
Well, that's why he threw that interception.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, it was brutal, so.
I'm still getting ready for Halloween.
You're early.
Yeah, you're early. Yeah, I'm gonna be so late, I'll be early.
I told Sharon, I said, if you
Remember when I was coaching, we used to go down to it. What was it?
Kim's gonna verify it wasn't me signing it, so. Correct.
Coach. For those couple of weeks, it was appealing.
I like that, yeah.
Then you go up there summer and you realize why you live here.
Unless I see somebody coming, I'm gonna like blast right through public comment in 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 2
Just say,
seconds.
is there any public comment, just go.
Yeah.
You don't even have to read the statement.
No, I mean, nothing.
So, we still have to do Ernie's. We still have to do Ernie's.
Yeah.
All right, we're ready for item 1.
We're ready for item 1. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Maness? Come on up. Mr. Maness is here on his own behalf. Well, I guess he is still an agent for his wife this time, but they are doing a boundary line adjustment, but both parcels were created by an exemption, so it's going to be an exemption amendment. Still a boundary line adjustment for adding, what is it, 5 acres to the south? Scroll up to the next picture, I believe, Travis. There you go. So if you look at the little kind of pentagon-looking piece there at the bottom of the pond, that piece is being adjoined from the south to the parcel on the north. But it's an exemption amendment because both were created by exemption previously.
So reading the application, it said you're trying to get the pond, obviously, it's not on one piece of property
Correct.
right now, and you're trying to encompass it so that it's all
Correct. Absolutely.
on the same piece of property.
Yes. At least a dam, a head gate, and a pond works will all be on the same property, yes.
Okay. I mean, seems pretty straightforward. You're just trying, so in other words, you don't have 2 people sucking out of the pond.
No,
This way it's all, everybody's just,
it's, yeah, right, it's, the pond is filled by it.
why was it ever done that way in the beginning? Do you know?
The pond was built after the property line. Dopey Butler built the pond 4 or 5 years after the property was
Oh.
purchased.
Gotcha.
And he just expanded. He just, you know, he goes crazy, or did.
No red lines on the ground?
No red line.
You just start digging.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. In fact, it was supposed to be 10 feet deep, and it got to be 9 feet deep, and I was wondering, am I gonna keep my house? And so I had to cut the top foot off the dam, or off the head gate.
Okay. So, this is, what really do we need to do here then? Ian, this is just a discussion? Is that all you're wanting, is just a discussion for
No,
it?
it's,
or-
it's an
or you want the
actual,
actual
it's a
approval?
motion and an approval to amend
Okay.
the 2 previous exemptions that were granted.
I mean, commissioners, I don't have any issues with this.
No.
So it's 5.56 acres you're adding
No, we're right, adding just about 1 acre to
To-
make it 5.6.
to equal the 5.56, okay.
Right.
And that's coming mostly from the 32 acres?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And we will, if this is approved, produce an exemption amendment document, and it will have Ernie's surveyed plat with that.
So do we want to wait for that survey, or do we want to approve this now?
I think you can go ahead and approve it now. I
And
mean, I think we've got a sketch. We're just amending the the previous exemption that was
Okay.
given, so, yeah.
Right, so we have to have the approval prior to doing the exemption documents,
To
because we
get it.
have to include the meeting minutes
Okay.
in the exemption document.
I move to approve the Second Amendment to Exemption Resolution Number P-37-79, submitted by Barbara Maness, agent Ernie Maness, on property located at 23408 Road T, Dolores, Colorado, consisting of 4.83 acres.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept and approve, for approval, the Second Amendment to Exemption Resolution P 37-79, submitted by Barbara Maness, agent Ernie Maness, on property located at 23408 Road T, Dolores, Colorado, consisting of 4.83 acres, more or less. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
All right,
there you
thank
go.
you.
Approved.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, sir.
Be back in 2 weeks to Mylar.
Okay, all right.
That work?
Have a great day.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Ernie. You bet. That's all planning has this morning, unless you have anything to discuss.
I don't necessarily have anything right now at this point in time.
All right,
All
very
right.
good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Next is our public comment, and I see no public in the room. Would any of you like to provide any public comment? All right, well, we're going to go right past public comment today. We're going to go right into public safety corner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, December. I'm sure glad to get that year over with. I didn't have time to get stuff to put up on the screen, but ended up with 13 coroner cases. And then we only had 3 hospice cases to add on to that. We did 13 autopsies. We had 0 motor vehicle accident fatalities, which was good. We did end up with 2 suicides in December, and haven't got talks back on one, but pretty confident it's going to be a fentanyl overdose. So that put the year-end totals for coroner cases and hospice cases, that'd be 241. There's 163 of those were coroner cases, 78 of them were hospice. We ended up with 8 motor vehicle fatalities, 11 suicides, 10 overdoses, possibly 11. Still waiting on the talks on that one. 5 homicides. We did 138 autopsies, which brought in $36,600. And then so far this year, we've had 5 coroner cases. Hospice has had 9. They've been busy. We've done 1 autopsy. We've had 0 motor vehicle fatalities, 0 suicides, and 0 overdoses. So hoping this year's going to be a little bit of an improvement for suicides and everything. So,
I've got 2 questions.
yes.
So, and I know that you probably don't have this data, but maybe next time. So I was looking at the DA's report and looking at the past years. And I think it was like in 17 or 18 or 19, whenever we had a lot more rates of instances that they had. How do we compare going back pre-pandemic?
As far as like the overdoses,
Yeah, everything. Overdoses.
The overdoses, they kind of go up and down. One year we had 13, if I remember correctly. I can get all those numbers for you. But normally we average about 5 to 6.
It'd be nice to kind of compare it and see where that is trending.
Okay.
You know, just to see
And
what's
I
going
can put
on
all
with
that together. It'll be probably another month or 2 before
Yeah,
I get all
it's-
my reports back from the pathologist, but I always do end of the year. I always pull up months, day of the week, hour of the day, just things that I like to try to keep track of and see how it changes. But I could throw that in
Just
there
to see
too.
where it's trending. And then 2, obviously, you know that we're, we've adjusted a lot of fees this year.
Yeah.
And I was just going to ask you, where do you stand with your fees? I don't know if, I had kind of forgotten about your fees, where do we stand with fees there? Do you think you're fine with the inflationary rates? Are we covering everything? Do those need to go up? What are your
Fuel's the only thing that,
thoughts on that?
you know, number of calls, it's kind of hard to figure the types of calls, you know, as far as body bags. They haven't gone up in the last 2 years since the start of the pandemic. Of course, they took a big jump. They haven't gone back down. But it depends on the type of calls where I use the body bag. And as far as pathology fees, he hadn't said anything about going up. You know, he mentioned whenever fuel prices started going up, you know, that eventually the autopsy fees would be going up, but I haven't seen anything. He hadn't said anything since. Of course, fuel has dropped since he said that too. So I don't see anything else really skyrocketing on my
Well,
end of
just
it.
keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Because, you know, here again, we're trying to make sure that we come out with a zero
Sure.
cost.
Okay.
Okay.
I like to say, other than fuel, unless he surprises us with an autopsy fee increase, I don't see anything jumping up to a crazy rate. I just got another 30 body bags. Hopefully that's going to last me quite a while. So even if they do go up, you know, I'm starting off at the old price and, you know, sitting pretty good right now.
Okay,
So, okay.
all right, very good.
Okay. Anybody
Thank
else
you.
have any questions?
No, thanks, George.
All right.
Yeah.
You guys have a good day.
All right, you too. District Attorney Clarissa. Matt, Clarissa, whatever, whoever.
Sorry. Mr. Marcuson's trying to have a jury trial today, so you were graced with my presence again. Oh, no, George turned it off for me. I am curious, though. I don't know how much, because what George deals with on the overdoses, no one's ever charged because they're deceased. So I would be curious, I'm interested to see, too, if there's any correlation between the amount, like, if you see an increase in drug cases, if that's where you see an increase in overdoses, it'll be interesting to see that information.
Yep.
But otherwise, you know, to some extent, they shouldn't necessarily correlate, but maybe. It'll be interesting to see what that trend is. But, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
We're number nerds at our office, so we like seeing that stuff too. Quarter 4 was a little bit higher than quarter 3, but overall the year is a little less than last year. You can see the last 5 years it's just sort of been a little up and down, like George was saying. We kind of get the same thing. I was thinking though, back in the day when I first started 15 years ago, we had about 1,800 just traffic cases, and now we have 1,800 total cases. So it's interesting to see. Like I said, we're kind of number nerds over there, but yeah, like I said, from 15 years ago, it's down overall, but you know, we're certainly seeing some increases and decreases over the last year or 5 years. I mean, violence
That's
and
what I
crimes
thought
against
interesting.
child.
If you look at 2017 on your children, you had 60, which is a decrease, which is good compared to 2022 of 55. But
Right.
like, what was going on in 17 and 18
I don't
and
know.
19?
Yeah.
What was?
Sometimes, and I know the feds say this all the time, depending on what's happening economically, can have an impact. You'll see a lot more crime, drug use, and thefts, and that kind of stuff. So it can depend on that a little bit. I feel like there was a slight housing plummet those years. I don't remember anything specific with the economy that was bad.
Gosh,
but,
not in 17, 18, and 19.
Right.
Housing was
good.
great.
Yeah.
Like 2008, 9, and 10 is when it was a cliff.
Horrible. Right.
So I
yeah,
mean,
I don't know. It's always interesting because you don't know necessarily what's going on. I feel like statistics, they always want to try to attribute it to something specifically, but you can't actually. You don't really know the reasons. And Montezuma County, you know, for the most part, has always been relatively stable, even in, you know, 2008 with the housing crash and whatnot. We weren't as bad as a lot of other areas. So it's just interesting. Obviously, 2020 was huge. That's probably the biggest impact that Montezuma County has had.
But really, if you look at the total number in 2020, it was still less than 2017. That's when I was looking at this
Yeah.
this morning. I'm like,
It's so interesting.
what,
I don't know.
what are driving these?
Well, and I was curious too to talk to law enforcement because that's where our numbers come from. So law enforcement has a separate set of statistics that they go by because they have to count how many calls that they go to. What these are the cases that are actually filed with court that have
Right.
charges. So there's a huge difference between what our numbers are and what law enforcement numbers are too. And that's what I was wondering when I was looking at the traffic cases, thinking, you know, we used to have 1,800 traffic cases filed back in, 2007, 2008. And we're just not getting that. So I don't know if some of the laws have changed, if law enforcement isn't, as strict about some as what they used to be. I'm kind of curious to know what their trends are as well and what differences they've seen. Because, it's just,
So you can see my question. When I started looking
Right.
at this morning, I'm like, wait a minute.
what's
these
going
numbers don't
on?
make-
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, and we need to meet with law enforcement about a couple other things anyway, so I can ask and just see, because a lot of them have been there for a while and they'd be able to tell, like, oh yeah, we changed this policy, or we've noticed this, or whatever. So I might ask a few of them and see if there's anything to report back about
Okay,
what they're noticing. But
perfect. That was my only question to
Sure.
all of you guys in public service. Why the changes? What's
Yeah.
happening? I mean, and
No
you may
idea.
not be able to answer that at all, but
Right. Yeah, and that's, like I said, the feds always say, because we go to a lot of classes and get a lot of trainings and hear a lot of the same, statistical information from them and whatnot. And they always say, oh, it's, related to how the economy is doing or whatever. If, you have a drought going on in a bunch of farmland, you might see more criminal activity. Like, there's just strange things that they attribute it to sometimes that I don't know that we necessarily fall within that or not, but that's what they always say, so. But, yeah, I'll ask around, see if law enforcement has any ideas, what they've been noticing, so. Other than that, we're just plugging away, getting cases pled or going to trial. Matt's got, 3 or 4, I think, this month, or over the next couple weeks, so he's gonna be busy. A lot of felony cases. Court, obviously, with Judge First now being in, they've restructured a few things, so that'll be a little different. County court is no longer gonna be hearing felony cases, so that's gonna be a huge shift for us, because everything would start in front of Judge Lawrence until a certain point called a preliminary hearing, and then they would get moved over to district court. That's going away completely, so we're having to do a lot of new policies and procedures and restructuring ourselves because of that change. So it was a bad time for me to be on medical leave. I'm trying to rapidly catch up and get those policies implemented, but we're rolling with the flow.
okay.
So,
Very
any
good.
other questions from
Questions?
anyone?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thanks. Okay, Mr. Spratlin, our EM.
We call him M-SIP now.
Moving pretty fast, aren't we? Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning, Kim, Ian, boss. All right, so you've got my report. It is posted on the website if anybody needs to look at it. I think we'll go straight to the drought PowerPoint. Did you get that right away? It was in your email, sorry. I just got it this weekend. If you can find that, that'd be great.
Not sure I saw that
I didn't see.
Nope, there's a PowerPoint.
Spring Outlook?
Huh?
The Spring Outlook, that one just showed
Yeah,
up.
yeah, that one, please. Sorry. Meant to send that earlier.
Okay, I didn't see it there.
So what we're looking at, I sent this to the commissioners too. Just go over really quickly our 4-month forecast for the drought for our county. And looking at it, and then I called him this morning. We went over this PowerPoint and kind of things that are going on right now with this snow coming. La Nina is actually slowing down. We don't know how fast, but it's slowing down. Looks like history's showing itself. We're actually getting back away from the drought. You can see the yellow. Go to the next slide, please, or the next. Whoops. So right now, they mentioned that the western slope basins are about 130% of normal right now. And talking to them, they just have an update. Our specific area was around 129. I showed 118 out of Mancus on percentage of snowfall. Right now, we're at 141%. We're actually third highest in the state. Gunnison is 144%. It shows 147 right there. And overall, the whole state of Utah is at 200% above normal. So we're seeing a lot of moisture coming in. The ground is actually saturating the moisture right now. And I'm actually planning for spring runoff and maybe some rains and some heat around June, July as well for the Dolores River, just looking at that. So the next slide, and the next slide. So we're deemed right now abnormally dry, and that's going to continue for the next three to 4 months. We're looking at the drought classification there. Go ahead, one more. So our area is abnormally dry. Hay production decreases. And we're looking at, can't quite read that over there. Irrigation begins sooner. I haven't seen any indication that we won't have irrigation at all. So we are at the top of that list. We're anticipating that we'll go back to normal in the next 3 months if this weather pattern continues, which it looks like it is. Next slide. So overall, most of our county, the same diagonal half that we always look at is the one that it's the drought development likely. It's looking like it in that area. Dry conditions, a little drier. It goes up a fraction on the other diagonal of our county. The next slide. So this is the precipitation that we're looking at. It's leaning around 33 to 40% below normal for precipitation. And then for the actual temperatures, 35 to 40%, just in that very bottom corner, which is ours, 33 to 40% above as far as the temperatures go. So, is that the last slide, I think? So that's, yeah, keep going. So that's it. So I sent that to you guys. Let you look at it. I don't think we need a decision today. It could go either way. I was talking with Ian, and if we wanted to just let it run out February 4th, the drought declaration, that's fine. I don't see an issue right now. And if we look in June and July and we start having issues, then we'll just do another resolution. I don't see the need for it at this point in the middle of winter, and we're actually high up on the percentages. So that's just my thoughts. So I'll leave it up to you guys. I'll get back with you in 2 weeks, and we can either decide to reenact that before February 4th, or we just let it go. So that's where we're at with the drought. And so the Department of Ag talked about the HPAI, even though we don't have any current outbreaks in our area. We don't have any current outbreaks that I'm aware of in Colorado, one of the things that they did mention was that we need just to be careful. It's not over yet. It comes and it goes, depending on the weather and the flocks that are running back and forth. So they said just be careful in the backyard flocks, but other from that, that doesn't seem to be any issue. Looking at the COVID stats, we're just hovering right there as we were last round. In my report, I got all the budgets, and there's no questions on my report. We can go to CIP really quick. Is that on the agenda? I think
Yep.
it is.
It's next.
So closing out for the year and beginning all the new grants and the quarter reports, et cetera, that includes emergency management and CIP. It looks like I'm still working with finance, and we're gonna make sure that this figure is correct, so this is just a draft. But it looks like we're gonna roll over $147,833, and of course, we can't forget the cents, 56 cents. So that looks like what we're rolling over. There's a breakdown of what we spent, and then in there is the behavioral health grant that we got. It's called the Safe Net or Safety Net grant. We're working on that grant right now. And then I received the information from the Hickenlooper's office that we received. The bill was signed by the president, and we're going to receive $361,000. We don't know when that's going to start. Behavioral health of the feds is supposed to put together a plan, a program. Then we submit our applications. There is no competition in this application because we were actually named in the bill for $361,000. So as soon as they figure out how that process is going to work, we'll move forward with that.
Have you been getting Helen Kadish's emails?
Uh-huh.
She had left a message with me Thursday or Friday that she was trying to get emails to us, and they're all bouncing back. Which
I
meant to talk to McLean, but I was
that's
curious
interesting.
if you
Yeah,
were
I haven't
getting them.
received an email from her for quite some time.
So you might reach out to her. I'll also get
Right.
McLean to reach out to her today, and just to make sure, because I know that she's usually pretty good about communicating with all of us.
Yep.
And I hadn't heard or seen anything from her either.
Yeah, she didn't mention anything, but I talked to her on the phone about this actual
Okay.
bill, so we were good.
Okay.
And then we're moving ahead, our statistics. We're well beyond the deliverables that we decided we were going to have within 6 months. Since the program, May 2nd, we've had 425 contacts. 167 of them were calls through 911 and officers follow-up. Then we do numerous follow-ups. And we've been building a rapport with the community. We've been building with all the stakeholders. So we're pretty much part of that response team. You have EMS, fire, law, and CIP. And everybody's agreeing to this, so it's moving really well. So pretty pleased with that. And that's about it. If you have any questions, we have all the stats in there.
I don't have any questions.
I'm glad to see you guys here. You dug a little snow this morning, got out of the snowbank, and you're now here.
We were never in a snowbank.
No?
No, we're good drivers.
What can I say? We had some snow in Mancus. That's all I got to
Yeah.
say.
No, just on all seriousness, no. If to everybody, if you don't have to drive today,
Yeah.
stay out of a snowbank. Make sure that you're safe, and this will pass. Give it 24 hours, but yeah.
It switched around on us a little bit. Dove Creek got like 4 inches last night. Mancus got 4.5, and it's moving its way towards the mountains. It should die off the end of today, hopefully. And then he said a small squall maybe next week, but it shouldn't affect us. And then in 2 weeks we might see that other storm. So we're getting enough moisture. It's not a lot of it. We need more. Let's just put it that way. It'd be good for ag. we're good to go. The road's 160 east is snowy, packed, and icy. 491 seems to be open. All the main roads are open. 145 and 184 need to be plowed by CDOT. They're out there. I saw them headed up north today, just this morning. So
Yeah, they were plowing 145 when I came
yep.
in.
And CDOT's shorthanded, so they're working the main roads first, and then they hit 145 and 184. So they're cleaning them off, but it's pretty packed. So yeah, I agree fully. You don't need to drive a car. Don't drive one. The roads are not perfect. And no chain laws in effect. There was Saturday night, headed to Dove Creek, to Dolores, so we put that out on iPaws, but nothing I've heard of lately around here, so should be good to go. Winter.
Winter. It's okay. It's good. Good to see.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, Bonnie, noxious weeds. Good morning.
Do you have my PowerPoint? 3 weeks ago?
It's not in the file.
Okay,
Let me look.
then we'll wing it. Okay, backpack loaner fees. So last year, we gave out 2 free backpack sprayers to county residents. Anything beyond 2 backpack sprayers, we would charge $20. Anybody within city limits, we would charge $20. Our income from the program was $660. When I did all the calculations of how much herbicide we put in all the backpack sprayers and how much that costs us, it was about $1,000. So I was talking to Travis, talking about charging just a flat rate of $10 per backpack sprayer in 2023, which will bring us an income of $1,600, which will fully cover any cost of herbicide plus a little more. I would request that we do give county employees a free backpack or 2 just as an incentive to work here. But that's up to you guys. Do you want to talk about that?
So do you have that in a proposal form? I did see an email from you, Travis, I think, that came out. So we can look at all of the fees? And I saw the backpack was on there, but what else do you have are the fees? Obviously, the excavator, that was a big one.
Yep, and I'll get to that. Do you
Okay.
want me to skip to that one right now?
No.
Oh,
Just-
okay. I'm
if
just
you're
going to go in
getting to it,
order then.
I'm going way ahead, so I
Okay,
apologize.
we're going to get there.
Okay.
Cost share 2023, it's going to be different from any other year because we will be going through Phaedra and our finances instead of having that separate account at First National Bank. We're going to require landowners submit a W-9 with their applications so we can process their reimbursement through Phaedra. Any reimbursements over $600 will be reported to the IRS, so we will let the landowners know. So that's a major change that we're going to do this year, but it should go pretty smoothly. In 2022, we ran out of funding for the cost share in October. We weren't able to reimburse over 80 applications. If we did reimburse those 80 applications, it would have been $15,000. So that's a good number for us to keep in mind going forward. You know, if I can come up with $15,000 in grant money because of the influx in applications. So the goal for 23 is to get a budget of $45,000. The county is pitching $20,000. So I applied for $15,000 through the Colorado Department of Agriculture. I also applied for another $10,000 through another grant. So I'll be hearing back probably April about those fundings, but that's kind of my goal is to get that budget up to $45,000 so I can reimburse the majority of the applications coming in. Make sense? Okay. Non-native ratified project fees and updates. Currently, we're charging $30 an hour. 2022 revenue from landowners was $21,691. I calculated the average cost per acre for all the years that we did this project, and it came out to $805 per acre. If if a private contractor were to have done the work, their average cost comes out to be $1,600. We don't have enough contractors in this area to do that kind of work. Right now, we only have one, and he mainly does fire mitigation for oak. But that's just kind of giving you an understanding of this is the most feasible option for what we're doing. You know, we're cutting the costs in half, and even landowners aren't even paying that much. I don't know if that makes sense. But so the take-home point is this project is the most cost-efficient option for tackling our current Russian olive and salt cedar problem. It's also the most feasible option for the landowners. Our project cost will decrease in the future once equipment is purchased. We've been purchasing chainsaws, mulcher heads, excavator payments, all that stuff. So that's why it's kind of expensive right now, but it should go down in the future. Just wanted to reiterate that these guys are spreading fast, so it's really important that we stay on task and in the same direction we are. Otherwise, they're just going to take over exponentially all the ag lands. They're taking over rangeland, ag fields, waterways. So we really need to stay on top of this. We're trying to get ahead of the growth rate right now is what we're trying to do. So as far as the fees, actually, let me back up. So right now, there's a lot of handwork that needs to be done. Chainsaw work is obviously much slower than the machine. So that's kind of where we're slowing down right now. We can't keep up with the machine as far as handwork. So to increase the efficiency of this project, we really need to increase the crew numbers so we can get more people on the ground doing handwork. So I've applied for funding. Sorry.
When you talk about handwork, is that just, what are you talking about? Is that
Chainsaws.
just
So
spring?
So the machine can only handle 4 inches in diameter and less. And there's a lot of trees along the waterways that we have to hand cut and pull back with the excavator so it doesn't fall in the waterway. So we have a lot of people hand cutting the larger trees down and the trees in more sensitive areas. So, and the machine will go through and get all the smaller diameter stuff, and then the hand crews will go in behind it. Well, actually, I think they go in front of the machine and try to cut the bigger trees down so they can pull them out with the excavator and grind them up. So that's what I'm meaning. Just as far as the flow, the handwork is slowing us down. So the goal for me is try to be most efficient with our time and try to move quickly because we do have 7,000 acres infested right now and it's just increasing. And I'm going to go over fees, but just as far as funding, we've secured about $50,000 through a drought disaster relief grant for 23. The America the Beautiful grant is a 3-year grant. The purchase order and statement of work have not been finalized. However, we're anticipating $40,000 a year from that grant for 3 years for the Phoratophyte project. The CDA Noxious Weed grants, they've been contributing to this project since it started in 2019, so we're anticipating at least $40,000 from that in 23. I've also applied for a water plan grant. In the past, we got about $25,000 a year. I'm asking for a little more. I'm asking for $50,000 a year for a 3-year project. And then I applied for a landscape scale restoration. Not sure. That's through the National Fish and Wildlife Fund. So I'm applying for a bunch of grants, trying to get funding. And then I had, sorry, you have it. Okay, so this is a chart of our expenses and incomes, our revenue over the past 4 years. This project started in 2019. You can see that 23, I'm trying to get 2 more guys, which is going to put our expenses to about $240,000. This is, this is what I want. This isn't what might happen because right now we just have 2 people. But as far as our revenue, with all the grants that I'm pretty confident that we'll get, the revenue would be $204. So I'm lacking $40,000 to cover the expenses. So What I was talking to Travis about was increasing that cost to the landowners up to $60 an hour, because right now we're just at $30 an hour. So if we increased it to $60 an hour, our income for that landowner line would be $90,000. Scroll forward to the next one, or two slides down. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, that one. So if we did increase to $60 an hour, that would give us $90,000 estimated revenue from the landowners in '23, which will put our revenue at $244, which will cover those additional 2 crew members that we're hoping for. So we can discuss what you guys are thinking as far as fees for those landowners. So I guess let me back up. The government really promoted landowners to plant these trees. A lot of people in our area remember the NRCS and different companies handing trees out. That's why I just don't morally believe it's right for us to do any kind of enforcement. And I don't feel like it's so expensive to remove these trees per acre. Our landowners really need help. So that's why we promoted this program, so we can get ahead of the trees and figure out a feasible option for the landowners. So I don't want to go too high to where they can't afford to do this. Does that make sense? Because right now the grants are covering a majority of the project and the landowners are covering the rest. So I don't want to do it too high to where it's just going to kill the whole project and we're going to go backwards.
Question?
Not at this time.
So, I had a conversation with Travis. My concern is once we get this program going, it's going to have to go on for almost into perpetuity because of the spread, and we're so far behind. So my only question was, what are we out of this? What are we using for the masticator head and or the excavator just for a replacement cost? Because if this is just barely covering the cost in, what is that, a 10,000 hour machine probably? 12,000 maybe? I mean, we got it in 2 years ago, right? The 209?
2020 fall, I think.
So yeah, 2 years ago. I mean, how many hours did you put on last year? You may not be able to answer that, but if we're out and we have no machines to go out there with, then we actually have nothing to work with at all. So if we don't at least factor something in for a replacement cost, I'm not sure if there's another grant coming down that's going to be able to replace that machine when you get to that point in time.
Yeah, well, the problem
That's
is
my
we can't
concern.
roll over any funds. So any extra funds, we can't start saving up for a new machine. So that's why we're just doing the lease
Okay.
of $18,000 a year. And then, I mean, we don't have to purchase this machine. I think the buyout
No,
cost.
you can continue to lease it.
Yeah, we can
Get a new
continue to
machine
lease
every 2
it.
years or 3 years, whatever we sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the buyout cost after 5 years is $30,000. So I'll come back and we can talk about that, and I'll hopefully get some grants to just buy it, and then maybe we can start a second lease of a second excavator as a backup for that first. But that's,
And then the head was a grant also.
yes.
Right, so we
Yeah,
got
we
the
have
head on
2
the
heads.
grant.
So we have a backup head, which is awesome now. So that's working out great. And then we can always come back too. We could raise the price to 60, and if we feel like we need to raise it again to cover more expenses, we can do that. It's up to you guys. I just don't want to increase it so much from what we have been paying. We've been charging them historically.
And
right away.
I agree. Those trees were all handed out. Trust me, I planted a lot of them.
Well, it's your fault.
And then there's properties like the Gardeners. They were our first property in 2019. They're up at P in like 21. And when they moved there, they didn't have any Russian olives or salt cedars. They didn't plant any. They all just came down through the waterways and just completely took over about 90 acres of their land. So it's not even people who
No, I,
God, yeah, it's just
I
a big, it's a big
understand.
mess. It's a huge mess, but it's really important that we keep on top of this.
so if you think this $60 an hour will cover it, and that's all we're trying to do is cover our costs,
Yep.
basically. I mean, that's still an amazing rate for what they're getting,
Oh, yeah.
$60 an hour.
It is, but the amount of acres that are infested, it adds up. A lot of us don't have much extra money to spend on our properties, but who knows, maybe.
I don't know. Thoughts?
Yet. I think it's a good idea, but rolling around.
Okay. And then all the contracts that we signed last year that we didn't get to this year, we're just gonna lock them in at that price that they signed the contract for last year. So any new contracts, we will update the cost once you guys kind of finalize what you wanna charge. Current results. Next. This is just a table of our results and potential water savings. We've been getting into a lot more dense areas this year, which is why the water savings is higher and not necessarily the acreage. But the guys are doing a tremendous job. You guys understand the potential water savings chart. Any work that we did last year won't really account for water savings until the next year. So 2019, we did work that potentially saved 126 acre feet of water. Well, we won't really save that amount of water until 2020. So that's how that chart works. And it's just an accumulative calculation of those water savings. Next.
That's pretty tall growth of salt cedar mostly there, Russian olives a few.
Yeah, that's down McElmo. We've been working a lot down there. And it's actually a nice chain reaction. When we're at one property, the neighbors come over and they're like, oh, please do mine. So we're just working entire stretches, which is great. Like that's the plan, to remove entire areas and keep moving downstream. But it's nasty down there. People haven't seen their properties. Like they didn't realize there's a side roll down there. They didn't realize there's a hidden truck. Like it's just amazing that they haven't seen their properties with all that stuff.
Oh, look, a truck.
Yeah, I'm not gonna-
Okay,
A
so
side roll?
next,
Yeah.
the last slide. We're still working on a revised plan. I'm at like this 8th revision. But I think we're getting in a good plan going on. The advisory board recommended altering it to be more friendly for the public because it's a little rough to read. So we did that. Ian likes it. I'm just going to go over a couple of the other changes and then I'll send it out to you guys so you can look at it. And then maybe the next meeting, next month or two, we can talk about amending that permanently. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
so these are your recommendations as of right now
Yes.
for your fees? Okay,
Yes.
all right. And how many acres do you propose this year, do you think that you'll be able to get? Just
As far as salt cedars and Russian olives, we're trying for 250.
250?
Yep.
Okay, all right,
Thanks.
thanks. Have a great day. All right, we're gonna jump right into new business. Our TASC and our Values West contract with Leslie. She's not able to get here today, so we're gonna go right by there. And we have 2 liquor license renewals. So we have Ms. Frizzell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My eyeballs on. So the first one I have is G. Willie Liquors LLC, located at 24001 Road G.2 in Cortez. No report from the sheriff's office about any incidents with them. Then the second one's going to be Paragon Business Investments LLC, doing business as Hilltop Liquor. They are located at 27963 Highway 184 in Dolores. And the same from the county sheriff's office, no reports of any incidents with them.
Okay. Any questions for Jerry?
No. I would so move that we approve a retail liquor or fermented malt beverage license renewal application for Paragon Business Investments, doing business as Hilltop Liquor, located at 27963 Highway 184, Dolores.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the retail liquor or fermented malt beverage license renewal application for Hilltop Liquors, 27963 Highway 184, Dolores, Colorado. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move that we accept this retail liquor and fermented malt beverage license renewal application for G Wheel Liquors LLC at 24001 Road G.2, Cortez, Colorado.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the retail liquor or fermented malt beverage liquor license renewal application for G Will Liquor LLC, located at 24001 Road G.2, Cortez, Colorado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, next we have our discussion for our PAB, private activity bonds.
Yeah, this document, it's this Form 8328, something that we sign and then we'll provide to council who's representing the private folks who are working on the sleeping ute apartments. They'll forward it on to the IRS. What this form does is it preserves the private activity bond money that has not yet been spent for a period of 3 years. So again, this doesn't obligate the county to anything. This is just allowing them to keep these bonds rolling for 3 years.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
I move we approve the signing of, no, that's not it. Okay. Of IRS Form 8328 for sleeping ute apartments.
And I believe Commissioner Candelaria is the one that has to sign this.
Right.
It's just one signature line.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept and sign the Form 8328, the carry forward election of unused private activity bond volume cap in the amount of $1,429,086.00. Or actually, yeah, 0 cents. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And then Kim, if you could just send a copy of that to me too, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Unfinished business, Travis. We're looking at a JAG Communications grant.
Yeah, so this is actually for the sheriff's office. However, in years past, Shaq was always a signator on this JAG grant, and they basically moved it over to me, so I just need the commissioner's approval to go ahead and sign this for the sheriff's office.
What is the grant for?
It goes for mobile data terminals under the grant description here. Mobile data terminals, I think there's some radios involved.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
I move we assign this grant award letter for DCJ grant number 2019-DJ-22-01-32-1 from the Department of Public Safety, Division of Criminal Justice to Montezuma County.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign or have our administrator sign the Department of Public Safety Divisions of Criminal Justice grant, number DCJ, or the grant number is 2019 DJ-22-01-32-1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have whenever you get done there, Travis, we have the continued discussion as related to the financial budget policy. Commissioner, we tabled this last week because you weren't here. Kind of felt that it was better to have all three of us here to put this out, or at least have a discussion further than we had in our work session. So with that, do you have any questions after Travis changed? Travis, I'll let you highlight that, but you changed a lot of the shalls and haves and wills and so on and so forth in there.
Yeah, so I went through and cleaned up the shalls, obviously, and made some shoulds. That way we're not putting the commissioners into a box. Removed some things. You can see the highlighted, blocked out areas. There were some things, obviously, I couldn't change because that's statutorily mandated. But again, I just cleaned it up and made a clean copy as well for Kim.
Ian?
Well, I mean, certainly taking the shalls out provides more leeway.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the things that I said a couple weeks ago still stand. And so it's like there's nothing inherently wrong with this. When you have something like this, it certainly is something that folks can poke holes in. And so, if you do decide to adopt something like this, I mean, you want to follow it to a T. Really, I mean, a lot of it lays out, how to do your job. And whether you want to lay that out in this kind of policy or not, it's really up to the board. It's not it's really a question of how you want to do business. I mean,
Part of this too stems from, it seems like every time we get audited, it's being asked, where's our policy? What are we functioning going by? And then there was another request too for what policies are we following? So I'll let you highlight that a little more, Travis.
Yeah, so basically it's a CFRs for federal grants. We have to have a financial policy. I talked to some other departments in the county, and they need a financial policy for their grants, for their auditing purposes, specifically public health was needing it. And they was using the procurement policy, which it was kind of getting away with, but they needed a financial policy as well.
and so, I guess what I would say is, this is certainly one way to do a financial policy. You can do something a heck of a lot. You can do a page-long financial policy, quite frankly. You don't need, again, policies are.
Well, my question, and I think I know the answer to this, but we can update this at any time? And if it's not
Absolutely.
working, we can change it. It doesn't have to be, it's a living document. It doesn't have to be here in the perpetuity just as it's written. So if we see something that doesn't fit our needs or us, I don't see why we can't.
That's absolutely true. You can change this at any point in time. You know,
Question, guys?
I looked through it and, you know, taking a lot of those shalls out there and should has answered a lot of questions. In our grant writing, if we're gonna get more aggressive in our grant writing, we're gonna have to have a policy. So it's one of those bittersweet pills that you have to swallow.
Yeah. And I agree, it's not, I mean, the way things have changed in the last 2 years, we've got to change with it. And here again, like I said, if we find that this doesn't fit our needs, we can change it. But we have to start someplace. That's my own comment.
Gerald, do you have?
It's a double-edged sword.
So in order to get some of these grants, we're gonna have to have some form of budget
Policy.
policy and financial management policy.
I guess what I would be curious to know would be what grants have we missed out on, and what issues have we faced in the audits as a result of using the procurement policy as our financial
I
policy.
think Fader would answer that. She would be the one that could answer that. With the audit stuff, I can't.
I mean, I
Other
mean,
than
I know.
Fader.
Oh, sorry. I mean, I know, like, for instance, you know, in the County Department of Human Services, we get audited a lot. And there are things that auditors say that are, you have to do this, you have to change this, and obviously that's one side of the coin. There's also in those audits a lot of suggestions, and a lot of those suggestions are made based on, you know, regulations that come down at the state level that aren't necessarily binding on us as a County Department of Human Services, but are suggestions or sort of best policies that the state uses. Now, I know there are times that those regulations don't necessarily fit with how our local department operates or the needs of this community. And so, you know, there certainly are times when the auditors come and they say, you have to do this, and we do it. There are times when the auditors say, you should do this, and, you know, when I was working in Human Services, we certainly just made the decision that, no, this doesn't fit our local needs, and there was no penalty. So, I mean, I think that's important to keep in mind too. Auditors make all kinds of suggestions,
Sure.
and then there's binding suggestions that it's an absolute, you have to do this. There's other suggestions that are more the auditor's suggestions, and if you don't follow them, there's not necessarily a penalty or an issue on the backside. So I don't know the answer to that. I haven't chatted with our finance department in depth, but that's another thing to consider.
I think also, when I talked to Spratlin, so I'm going to summarize quickly the conversation that I had with him on the CFRs. And Spratlin, if you're listening out there and I'm incorrect, correct me. But it's my understanding if we don't have a financial policy under the CFRs, and we get these grants and we're found not to have a financial policy, we could be on the hook, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, to repay those grants.
So that's true. Under the CFRs, you do need a financial policy. We do have a financial policy with the procurement policy. The CFRs are pretty flexible in terms of what exactly you need to have in terms of a financial policy. So, you know, I'm certainly not aware of any grants that we've been found on the hook for. I think that there have been grants where, you know, individuals have wanted a more bulky financial policy from us. But, you know, I don't know to this point, and I'm not aware of anything where we've actually run afoul of anything or been at risk of running afoul of anything. I know that there have been suggestions made that we need a more bulky financial policy. But, you know, quite frankly, I mean, that's the world we live in. Everybody wants big, thick policies, and then a lot of entities operate with big, thick policies. I'm not sure it's a good thing, but it certainly is what people are used to seeing.
Commissioner?
I guess the basis for this, is this coming from other counties that have this type of policy?
Yeah, actually, that one is, a lot of it comes from Larimer County, and looked at some Weld County stuff.
I guess I don't have any problem as long as we can change the thing if we just need to.
Well, the way I looked at it, and that's why I wanted to ask the question in public, is that the way I looked at it, if it doesn't fit us or it changes, you know, we can change and adapt with it.
Absolutely. I mean, it can
My
be
concern.
changed at any time. You know, I guess what I would say right here in the public meeting to the commission and to Travis would be, you know, if we're gonna enact it, we better follow it. I mean, that's the deal. Like, follow that thing to a T, because, and make sure that everybody understands it. And I think that, you know, with a policy that's 29 pages, that might involve more than just sending it out.
So let me ask you a question. Would it be better to do this? Would it be better to do a couple of training sessions with everybody so that everybody is on board prior to implementing it? Would it take, could we say in a month, implement it and give, you know, set up a couple different trainings so that we can actually get everybody? Because the worst thing we can do is implement a policy and not train anybody. We're gonna all fail, guaranteed. And if we don't train them properly, so would you feel more comfortable about that, or?
Well, I would feel more comfortable if we gave this thing to every one of our department heads, and we had some discussion about it whenever we come
Next week?
next week, when we come back to our department head meeting.
I think
What about that before we go passing this?
yeah,
We could, and I,
Have them look at it too, see if it fits?
and I sent the original version out to all the department heads for their review, but we can definitely do that at the department head meeting as well.
I just think to have a conversation with them, because a lot of them may not respond.
Sure, and I'll send that out.
But they might when they're here.
with all of us.
I'll send them
That's a
out
good
the
idea.
version,
So-
yeah.
Good
With
point.
that.
And-
I think so.
And get
Is that
that
a problem?
input. So let's put it off as far as implementation, at least 30 days?
I think we could have
I
a
mean-
conversation next week and see how it's received, and then, I mean,
And I don't think if there's not a problem with most of our department heads, or, you know, there's some issues that get brought up, I don't,
They may see something in
Yeah.
there we don't.
Well,
You know,
well,
that
that's what
affects
I
their
mean.
department.
That's what I was just, something that they're concerned with.
So let's
Let's hear it.
put the implementation off at least 30 days for a discussion, and that way we can bring it up at the department head meeting next week, right?
I mean, otherwise, I don't have any problem with it, because we can always change it and make it
Yep.
fit.
Yep.
So I don't have any problem with it, but I think it wouldn't hurt to get their input before we approve this
Did
thing.
we have any other input when you sent out the initial?
No,
'Cause I
I mean, I
didn't-
had a couple of, for instance, we needed this because of our auditing purposes, but
Other than that,
no
that was it.
responses.
There was a very few responses, but it definitely doesn't hurt to have them all in the same room to ask
That's
them
what I
face to
just
face. So,
wanted to make sure that they actually looked at it.
and I think that's on our agenda for the meeting anyway.
Correct.
So let's just put that implementation off, at least say 30 days,
Okay.
and we'll go from there. Give that back to Kim. All right.
We're flickering.
Well-
I just looked at the outage map from Empire.
A lot of heavy, wet snow out
Yeah.
there. Yeah. So, okay, well, that'll be a continuation. So now we're gonna go down to an RFP for our strategic plan. Actually, Travis, you have the next two, so the e-bike letter also.
Yeah, so this is just the RFP for the strategic plan that you gentlemen wanted to look at before we put it out to bid. There's a couple of things in here that I didn't include, and those were dates. So for instance, I put May 23rd And I'm not sure if those are dates that are workable for you gentlemen. And then also at the bottom, I didn't include the RFP schedule, which we can correct if you gentlemen want to go ahead and move forward with the RFP.
And I looked at the RFP. From a legal standpoint, it's really good, and I think it does a good job of describing what it is we're looking for.
I didn't have a problem with it.
No, it looked fine to me. So,
Okay, so then I'll just include the dates and go ahead and put it
Yeah.
out.
I think so. You just put it
no,
out.
he,
Yeah.
yeah, he can put it out. We don't need to approve
Yep.
this. We'll have to approve the contract. once we
Absolutely.
See the quotes, but
Yeah.
we don't, yeah, the direction is go
Yep.
ahead, and I think we talked about it last week, was to go ahead and give you the direction, get the RFP ready, so now we're ready to go. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Then we have a letter of support for an e-bike grant.
So Lori was unable to make it because she had another meeting. However, this is just a letter of support for them to obtain a grant for underprivileged or under lower income people for e-bikes. And it's a loan-to-own deployment, and it's for 55 and over. So all it is just a letter of support. It's not committing us to anything. It's just helping them to be able to obtain a grant.
Go ahead, Joe.
Question?
You have any problems?
No.
Okay.
It all pretty much follows the multimodality that the state is trying to do with getting people moved around. So, no, I don't have any issues with it at all.
I move to sign this letter of support regarding the Cortez 55-plus community access to electric bicycles grant submitted by Four Corps for income qualified adults in Cortez, Colorado.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign the letter of support and send to the Colorado Energy Office for the Cortez 55-plus community access to electric bicycles. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does that come back to you, Travis?
You can just send me a copy, and I'll forward it on.
Okay, and with that, we have our Economic Development Coordinator, Ms. Thurman, here with some bright and shiny good news of something, I'm sure.
Hopefully, maybe sooner or later we'll get that big company coming our way. So I'll make it quick, guys. I just have a few little things that I wanted to update you on and put on your radar. Of course, brownfields, we're moving forward on that. We have a meeting scheduled next week. We did get approval from the city to hop on with their efforts to their CDPHE grant, which is awesome. And that'll save us some time from having to apply for our own and going through that process on our own. So we need to work on continuing to identify some properties. Some of those that we have already identified, I've talked to the property owners, and it seems promising that they will want to work with us and continue that process. So still just trying to talk through and look at next steps and what we can do to work our way through trying to get some funding and getting some properties that are needed desperately to be cleaned up within the community. So continuing to work on that. The other thing that is just a continued effort is the roadmaps implementation and the Montezuma Community Collective. We did some recordings for some video outreach. I'm not sure how those turned out quite yet, but we'll see. I also met with Bernadette Cuthair, who's the Economic Development Coordinator for the tribe this week, just to kind of discuss some coordination, making sure that we're not doing too much overlap and see if there's other ways that we can better support. They're moving along with their grocery store, which is exciting. That's something that she really spoke proudly about, and hopefully that goes will coincide with our plan to try and clean up that corridor along Broadway and 491. So that was a good conversation. The other two things I wanted to just put on your radar is there's 2 grants that we're going to be looking at trying to go for. One is going to be the Economic Development Organization grant. It's about $20,000 to $40,000. I'm looking at to go for that to really look at how we can better market Montezuma County to site selectors and to other businesses for business recruitment. Looking at maybe trying to develop some parts of the website, a community prospectus, and trying to just, like I said, market so we can get some more businesses here. Hopefully work on towards diversification, right? And then the other grant is the Opportunity Now Colorado grant. This is a workforce development. We are actually partnering with an organization. They're called Farm to Spaceship, and they are doing a statewide initiative to really bolster economic or experience economy, which is, I'm sure none of you guys probably know what that one is because that's a fun buzzword, but that's like something like a trip to Disneyland where you're looking to buy an experience, not necessarily just materialistic things. And so we're going to work with them to, again, partner with people throughout the state to see how we can look at doing something like that here in Montezuma County. This grant, it does have 3 different phases. Hopefully within the summer we'll apply for ourselves and be the lead applicant for something just for Montezuma County, but for right now we're going to partner with them for this first phase and work with the other partners that they've identified through the state. So that's all I have. Is there any questions, thoughts?
No, I caught part of a meeting up in Westminster, and part of that Brownsfield, they have an offshoot called Greensfields that helps improve, properties that are a little bit dilapidated. I didn't know if you had checked into those or not. I was trying to find my notes and I can't find them.
I have somewhat, but not too, haven't done too deep into that.
Okay, and then there was some stuff done through CSU Extension about some health and collaborative through economic development, education and stuff. So you might want to get a hold of
Emily?
the folks over at the Extension office.
Sounds good. Will do.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Awesome. All right, guys, have a good day.
All right.
Thank you.
Egan, attorney's report.
I received an email yesterday from Ironwood. It went out to me and CDPHE. Basically, Ironwood's been shut down hauling chips since December 27th. They were hoping to get going again, but I mean, between the snow and the local trucks being snowed in and the roads from Montrose, that's the other trucking company they're using, they just haven't been able to haul. They did send over temperature logs, and the temperatures look fine. Everything's staying consistent, but that's where they're at. They indicated that as soon as weather allows, they're planning to get started again. So the snow's great for a lot of things, not so great for moving a chip pile. The Ellis Lewis land use case, that has been continued. It was set for February 24th. My understanding is that landowner is going to try to apply for an access permit from CDOT, and so that will require a traffic study and some other things. But we are set this afternoon in court to reschedule that trial. So once I get a date for that, I'll let you guys know. Other than that, it's just been a lot of day-to-day stuff. No big action on the civil front.
Okay, very good. Okay, Travis, anything new?
What was that?
Anything new?
Yeah, so our grant writer started today.
Yep.
So glad to have him on board, Robert Dobry. And he's on the ground running. I put him on the fairgrounds to start working on the sprinkler system and the solar project. So he's going to be getting with Justin on that. Just a lot of day-to-day activities. One of the biggest things I think to put on the radar is we had a stakeholder meeting last week with the assessor and the treasurer and city about Senate Bill 22-238, and we'll have some further discussions on that, and that's the property tax legislation that come out. We'll be talking about that. It's not the greatest in the world, I think, as Commissioner Candelaria found out, but we'll get some better figures hopefully after this week. And then we also had a broadband meeting on Friday. That was you, I think Ian attended, and I've done some follow-up on that as it relates to the next 4 to 5 years and what it's going to cost us overall. So that took up a lot of my time.
All right, very good. Commissioner Copenhaver.
This past week, I had a AAA meeting on Wednesday at noon, 1 o'clock, for a couple hours. Basically, it was just reorganization, new officers, and some of the personnel has changed around with the election that happened last fall, so that's just getting reorganized again. Then on Wednesday night, I attended the Mancos Town meeting. They hadn't met since, I think, the 14th of December before that. They have some different issues coming up, and they were also dealing with issues of trying to buy some vehicles and that sort of thing, but I need to give them kudos for their activity as far as removing the snow in the town of Mancos. Because when I came through Mancos this morning, they had every bit of the snow off the street going into town there. It was not piled in the middle, it was gone. They had cleaned that all up, and they've been doing an excellent job of doing that.
Well, good deal.
So kudos
That's
to them.
not very many people over there either.
No, but they don't have that many workers or anything, but those guys get out and they get after it, and
good.
they have done a good job.
Good deal.
Seemed like an excellent job. And it was not good conditions, because this morning the snow was blowing hard over there, and down 41 Road, our county trucks had come up the road and was going back down the road, and by the time he was going back down the road, there was probably 6 to 8 inch drifts on the part that he had just plowed, already blowing across the road. Once you got just east of Mancos a little ways, the wind stopped. But right there on 41 Road and in town, the flags were straight out, blowing hard. And you would think, as heavy as the snow is, it wouldn't be blowing around that much, but it was moving. It was blowing hard enough to move it.
Yeah. Well, good deal. Congratulations, Mancos. Appreciate it. Thank you. Commissioner Levy.
You had some phone calls and little side meetings over the weekend, and did go to city council meeting last Tuesday, and they approved some liquor license renewals and bought a street sweeper and got some HVAC equipment for the city service center out there. But they also received a presentation from their auditor, and they finally issued opinions on 2017, 18, and 19 on their audits. So they're complete now on their audits.
Oh, good.
So good for them, and now they can concentrate on 2021, 22, and hopefully get ready for 23.
Good. Good for them. Good for them. Well, I started off, obviously, Wednesday. Like Travis said, we went over that new bill with the assessor, finance. Be some things coming forward, and kind of the lost revenue that we'll probably be looking at for the upcoming year. So we'll have to do some planning as far as what we're gonna do to try and take care of that. Thursday, had surgery on my shoulder. Went well. Late getting out of the hospital, but other than that, everything was good. While I was in there, I actually got a phone call from Mike Morgan. I think, Commissioner, you met him last year when we were up there testifying at the Capitol. I was selected to be on the Fire Prevention Division Committee for the vacancy that one commissioner has left, so I was appointed to that for the state of Colorado to represent our area down here, which is a pretty big deal in my opinion. Hopefully we can get some things going, because I know there's a lot of legislation coming down this year, specifically the WUI area and how that's going to affect us down here. And we had meetings on that Friday, and land use. So already a lot of conversation going on with the first week of the session. I think there was already 108 bills. I haven't looked at it this morning, but in the first week, we're already 108, and
Yeah,
we have 120 days to go, so I'm not sure where we're going to end up this year.
I looked at some of those bills and, it's amazing. Non-lethal ammunition?
Well, all of them are going to be, you know, how do we get some amendments to some of them? Because the reality is that a lot of these bills can be passed, and if we're not at the table trying to at least amend them, you know, they're gonna pass,
Yeah.
just because of where we sit right now. So, anyway, two of those meetings with CCI on Friday. Again, that was the WUI land use code discussion, and then we'll have more coming up this week, this Friday also. So that pretty much finished up my week with me. Kudos to all of our guys that are out there plowing snow.
Yes.
You know, be careful, be cautious, and we'll get through this in the next 24 hours. Thank you all. That's all I have. With that, we are to the end of our agenda, gentlemen.
It's your turn. It's
I
your
move
year.
we adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the January 17th BOCC meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.